Can you hear me? Hello.
Oh, sorry, I was speaking on mute. I was saying I was trying to conserve my bandwidth because my connection is a bit wonky here. So I would like to maybe, if it's possible, or you would prefer it that way, for me to have my camera turned off. However, I can share the camera maybe for a few minutes so that you can see that you're speaking to a real person.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. All right, man. No, that's awesome. I think you can conserve your battery. It's totally fine. Because yes, I can see your network it turns a little bit red. And of course, I think I'd like to have you here for quite as long as possible. All right, man. Thank you for joining me. I think possibly this has been one of the most awaited conversations in my diary, because I remember we wanted to do this some few times back, but we couldn't have it. And finally, I think the schedules have cleared up, and finally here we are. So thank you, man. Thank you for joining me. Basic introductions. My name is Samongobeni. Well, I don't have a specific title, but maybe let me just say I'm busy with a few things at one of our creative agencies called 01 Creations. We're doing some exciting things. They're just trying to build brands and tell stories. We're generally just a creative agency. Well, there is not much excitement to what we do compared to what you guys are doing, right? So when I first heard about your company, I think I checked out your social media pages, I checked out your LinkedIn, and when I go to your website, and I want to give you just a brief background into why this was so interesting to me and still is. When I went to the Chama Money background, it spoke of something that has always been close to my heart. I did mention this in the email, primarily maybe because it might also be close to many people's hearts, being young folks who grew up in disadvantaged areas of sorts or somewhat. We grew up with our parents teaching us and trying to make us understand the importance of Stockvels, the importance of what they were doing, saving money. There's a whole mechanics involved in this process. It's quite a technical process that has its own mathematics. So when I read your story and heard what you were doing, I wanted to find out more in person, because obviously I am able to deduce more when I'm speaking with you. So I just want to touch on a few things of those. I want to touch into the motivation behind you starting this company, number one, how the journey has been. I understand the people that you guys serve. I constantly wonder how easy it is to communicate with them, to have access to them, to reach them, to communicate your product properly and clearly to them. And also, I remember recently I saw on your LinkedIn, I think you were attending a pitching session with Africa Arena, if I'm not mistaken. I just didn't get the proper details. So I also wanted to touch into how those are going, funding, how is the looking for funding, how has the journey been, how is it at the moment, how is it looking, how positive is it, and we'll just dive into more details. So first of all, let's start from the very beginning. Just give me a brief background into who you are as a founder of this company. I'm smiling because I'm excited of this innovative company, and then we just take it step by step. I really want to understand this.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the interest in us and what we are trying to do. So
Right.
basically, a brief background about myself. I was born in the Eastern Cape, in a small town close to the border of Lesotho and KwaZulu-Natal called Mount Fletcher. I then went and lived in Cape Town at the age of 13 to pursue high school there. Yeah, I lived in Cape Town, and that's where I started my first business, which was a digital marketing agency, where we were working with
Right.
SMME to kind of use digital marketing to give them an upper hand or equal the playing field when it came to SMMEs getting themselves out there. So
Right.
that was my first when it comes to business, and we actually ran that company quite successfully and had international clients and so on.
Wow.
So as part of that company, what we were doing as well is we were creating websites for SMMEs, and
Okay.
back then we were using CMS platforms like your WordPress and your Wix, those drag and drop website builders. So as we're building these website for our customers, we felt restrictions because there's so much you can do with those. So I was kind of interested as to how do you build a website from the ground up, right? So I left that company, decided to go to school, studied software development at a company called Project Codex. So from there, I went and worked in the fintech industry, worked for an investment company called Wealth Migrate. So basically, what we were doing at Wealth Migrate, we were building an investment marketplace that allows people all over the world to invest in premium real estate. So basically, if you're a South African and you want to get into property in the US, without having to go through all the complexities, we kind of facilitate that whole process for you in a seamless way. So the journey with Chama Money actually starts when I'm leaving my initial company, which was a digital marketing agency, and going into school and studying software development. So whilst I was living in Philippi, I was living in
All right.
Cape
Let
Town
me let
in
me let me let me
yeah.
let me help you a little bit. So, what age were you when you started the first company, the digital marketing one?
I was 21 years at that point.
21. So from then you then decide to go into do your studies. Then you go into software. Okay, cool. I wanted to understand before you continue the jump. But I already have you've already made the connection. I wanted to get the sense of the jump between the digital marketing agency as a company that you founded to then coming into founding Chama Money. Create for me this visual link properly, and then also maybe let's do a comparison as we go along. The experiences that you experienced when you were in the digital marketing company and what you're experiencing now in Chama Money.
Yeah, look, I left that company reluctantly, right? I told myself I was going to go to school, study software development, and open up a dev agency. So basically,
Okay.
a more technical marketing agency. So the my mind actually got changed when I was in school because there were a lot of companies pitching for me, startups that wanted me to go and work for them. So the idea of Chama Money actually comes when I'm doing I think it was an internship with another agency, and I was visiting my aunt in Philippi, and my aunt was part of a Stockvel, right? Many Stockvels, but there was this one particular Stockvel that she was part of. It was a lending Stockvel. So what they did is that they
Okay.
pulled money together as a Stockvel, and then they would sum that
Right.
money up. Then they would redistribute that money amongst the members so that the members can take that money and lend it to community members where they lived.
Right.
So my aunt was making 50, had a 50% markup on her loans. So basically, she was charging 50% interest on her loans, and she was making a lot of money from this. And I was like, one day, also I was visiting her, she was complaining to me, people are defaulting on my loan, so and so is not paying me back, and I don't like chasing people around. So I was like, okay, I'm currently doing software development, and which is all about like using technology to solve problems, right? Would it be possible for me to kind of prototype something that would actually assist my aunt in terms of solving this problem? So the
Okay.
idea was I was going to build a credit scoring platform for her so that she can be able to kind of be able to track people whom she has lended money to, and also the rate that those people were paying, and also kind of build predictive models to kind of say, okay, so and so is likely to default and so on. So as I was doing research to kind of build that prototype for her, that's where I started actually unpacking a lot of loopholes that exist in the Stockvel market. So mainly around safety, and as to how Stockvel executives, your chairpersons, your secretaries were defrauding members and just fleeing away with a lot of money. So, and also issues around transparency, right? You find that certain Stockvels, mostly in all stock files, you know that the ledger of a stock file is often kept by one individual, right? And that person has the complete over. Yes.
All right. So tell me, in your research, did you by any chance find has there ever been a corporate formally recognized structure in the country when it comes to stock files? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, have there been formally registered and recognized businesses such as yours in the Stockfile market doing the work that you are doing? Has there been ever such a high scale business operating in this space? Or have they been operated informally, by, as you say, usually these are groups of people from the community. They just come together and then formulate an agreement amongst themselves, and then that's how they operate. But in terms of a formally corporate recognized structure, maybe nationally or by law or by legal standards, have we ever had such in place in the country? Or has it always been an informal way of operating?
I would say mostly it's been informal. However, during the time that I was doing my research, there was a startup company that was actually developing a similar solution to what I was proposing. But what they were doing back then was just
Okay.
creating a digital ledger. So they were just allowing stock files to record all the contributions that were made on a digital platform that is accessible to everyone. And then they would then send alerts to say, hey, so and so has made a contribution. But there were no payments tied into that solution, or there wasn't nothing. So it was basically a reporting website. So I thought these people are not really solving the problem, right? Because what we need is to kind of make sure that the Stockvel process is digitized from end to end, and also it is secured, right? So from the time when my grandmother deposits money onto the Stockvel, to the point where they're actually receiving that payout, that whole process needs to be digitized. So that was what I saw. We had a competitive advantage against the existing incumbent at that point. So I started building out this prototype while I was still in school, and I showed it to my teachers and mentors, and they were very impressed with it. And it came to a time where I was about to graduate now, and they were like, "Hey, Sibabale, what do you want to do? What do you want to pursue?" I was like, "I want to go back into entrepreneurship, and actually
Right.
pursue this idea around stock files." And they were like, "Okay, that's great, but how about firstly you go into industry, go become a software developer, work in a software development team in a maybe in a fintech company, or just in a startup company, and get an understanding of how it is to work in such an environment, in a software development team, in a software company." And basically, what they were advising me is to make mistakes on somebody else's budget and kind of grow a
Right.
little
Okay.
bit, right?
let me disturb you here a little bit. So when did you graduate, or when did you finish your software development qualification?
That was in 2017, I believe.
2017.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me that, back then, there was a time where a lot of businesses were pitching for you to join their companies. I'm interested, was it because of your special skills? Perhaps, let me use the word special. Was it because of your unique abilities or your talent, or would you attribute that to software development being a critical skill in the country?
I would say it's a bit of both, right? Because from my previous business, I had learned a lot of skills around being able to articulate myself, regardless of the situation, and just be frank and honest as to how I feel. So that was something I feel like they found it was rare for a young Black person to kind of be able to articulate themselves, to be able to chase after opportunities, So I think they just felt that this boy is hungry for something, and if we can maybe get him into our team, maybe we can have someone who can assist us in terms of achieving our goals and stuff like that. I think that was it. But also, I was also a top performer in my class in terms of software development. So I think that's a bit of both. Yeah.
All right, cool. This is so you understood the course content. I think I asked this one because I was hoping you would mention that you were performing well in your studies. I'm asking this because I have a few of my friends who are also somewhere in software development, and well, of course, we'll have to admit that the times are different from when you did your qualification to the time that they are doing it now, because it's the workload they're having to deal with at the moment, the critical demands of their qualifications, the time constraints under which they need to deliver results, and also what is the academic institutions are also demanding from them. They're failing to balance the scales as things are at the moment, because in one particular case, I have a brother of mine. I think he's I'm not sure what he's specializing in at the moment, but it's also in the software development stream. And the course content, they were supposed to complete, I think it was course content possibly maybe for 6 months, and it had to be condensed. It had to be condensed into, I'm not sure if it's 6 week or 12 weeks, a time frame. And as a result, being students and not being really prepared and used to such kind of pressures, it's difficult. So I saw a mark sheet of their own at one point, and of the recent test they had done, no one had passed that test, right? Absolutely no one on the mark sheet had passed that test. I think for me, that was a testament to just how demanding that qualification is, looking at the amount of work they are expected to do. But more than that, I wanna I'm still drifting in this direction because I wanna try and dive into, you mentioned to me that you understood, or rather you performed well in your qualifications, or one of the exceptions. Do you do you consider this to be, what are the key qualities that are found in some exceptional achievers that can be linked to entrepreneurs? That's if they decide to be entrepreneurs, right? There are some exceptional achievers who don't become entrepreneurs, who don't start their own businesses, right? There are various details involved in the whole context itself. But from your perspective, personally, what are some of the qualities that were involved in um, in your exceptionality as a student, which also assisted you? Which core qualities, which core characteristics did you identify, or were identified by other people that you had, which became useful, or which automatically linked up with your entrepreneurial journey? Who knows? Maybe I might also need to go back, still continue with my schooling, develop some exceptional abilities, and then continue this entrepreneurial journey?
Oh wow. I think that's kind of a difficult question because it would then come from a subjective perspective instead of an objective one. So then there might be biases there. But
Right.
I would say from my end, the qualities that at that point in time, like I said, um, I was I was very curious. I really, if I didn't understand something, I would really bug the teacher about it to say, hey, I really don't understand how this works. And if I wanted to know something, like I would go deep in terms of like trying to understand that and learn that, so that the next time the teacher comes to me and kind of ask, I'll bring up something that wasn't in the course content, and then he would see that, okay, this guy, is really interested in this. So I think also to just touch on a question that you just asked was that, um as an entrepreneur, what are some of the skills that you need to have in order to be a successful entrepreneur? I'm just paraphrasing there, but I think for me at that point in time, the the skill was the passion around technology, right? Because even in my first company, we were using technology to advance SMMEs from a marketing front. But now it was more of an understanding on how do we build these technologies from a back end point of view. So for me, really, I think I would say I would attribute it to my passion for technology. I really love using technology, building technology. So I would say qualities are just being curious, loving what you do, and just being, daring, because I really believe that at that point I was daring. I really wasn't afraid of going out there and just, telling people what I want, what I expect,
Right.
and just, uh, also backing that up and not just being all talk, because also the results at the end of the day had to match up.
So I'm guessing at this point then we are then at a cross point where exceptionality meets interest as well, in a sense that you can be good at something, but not necessarily because you like it, right? There are people who are good at something, but not because they like it. They're just good at it. They grasp it quicker than others. Then there are others who are fortunate to be good at something, not because they have an inborn talent to be good at that particular thing, but they're good at it because of the amount of time they put into it. And the amount of time they put into it is a testament of their own interest in that particular thing, to which they then become good at. All right. So let's continue the story. You are at graduation. Your teachers and your mentors are asking you, what do you want to do, and they're advising you to go into the industry, to fail on someone else's budget as opposed to failing on your own, because failing on your own budget, there are certain risks that are involved in our trade, right? And well, risk is risk. It doesn't matter which angle. Let's call it learning. When sometimes risk is involved in the learning process, especially in how someone decides to learn, and on which terms they also decide to undergo the learning process. Now they're advising you to go into the industry, to gain some more skills, learn, fail on someone else's budget. What then?
Um, I was lucky because in my first business, I had these mentors. These were a few guys from Germany, from the Netherlands. And throughout the business, they would often offered me good advice that I saw worked out, So I was like, although I was very reluctant because I remember I said there was already an incumbent trying to work into this space, and I was like, oh, if I go to industry now, this guy will get, a gap to kind of maybe advance more, and there will be no space for me to pursue this idea. But reason kind of said, dude, these people know what's best, and these were people like very old people, like people in their 60s, So I was like, okay,
Right.
trust these people. They've done
So
business quite a lot.
you had veterans at your disposal.
Yeah, I guess I was very lucky, but also I worked hard. You know, in business, you create your own luck. But yeah, those people whom I had around me were very instrumental, and I decided to take that leap of faith. And during that process, I actually told myself that I'm going to stay in industry a maximum of 3 years, because I didn't want the
Okay.
incentives to keep me there. I really wanted to go out to entrepreneurship, because even if this idea that I had around digitizing stock files um, was already kind of taken over by another entity, I was fairly sure and confident in myself that I would be able to come up with another idea that would be able to add value into our communities. So yeah, I went into industry. Was headhunted by a company called Wealth Migrate. Wealth Migrate was headquartered out of London, and basically they were an investment marketplace, like I said. However, their technology, they were outsourcing it from another entity, and now they wanted to start to build an internal software development team to kind of have
Okay.
over that whole system. So I was part of the people that were brought in to form that team, to kind of build that system from the ground up. And I was like, okay, because it's crazy. Also, during the interview, I kind of rigorously interviewed the interviewer, because I wanted to make sure that what I was going into was something that I was going to be passionate about. And when they told me that they would be
Right.
scrapping everything that the company had initially, the whole system that the company was built on top of, and we would be there to build it from the ground up, I was very interested, because that then meant I was also going to learn a lot of things. But also this team was made of exceptional individuals, people who had like 20 years of experience in terms of software development team. And I was going to be a
Mm.
junior software engineer to learn with those people. So it was an
Yeah.
interesting journey working at Wealth Migrate. Had a lot of challenges, because like working in such a great team, they have a great team out there. You have to kind of keep pace, and also the innovation that we were doing, there was something incredible. But yeah, all in all, I had to keep my word. And this year, beginning of this year, I had to resign at Wealth Migrate, because that was my third year. And I'd already started Chama Money actually last year, but I was doing it on my
All right.
own spare time.
Wait. Don't be too quick on me. This is good stuff. Don't be too quick on me. All right. So you were at Worth Migrate, right? And you said you had made your mind you're going to be in industry for 3 years. What is prompting you to make this decision? Is it out of fear of a certain level of comfortability? Or rather, tell me, what degree of risk is in being comfortable? Suppose you have this idea. Well, because I'm speaking with you, let's make you a case study. Here you are, you have this amazing idea. At the same time, you are headhunted by companies doing exceptional things and delivering exceptional financial products. They want you. And obviously, with the exceptional skills that you have, and the main reason why they're headhunting you, you do know that possibly there is a possibility of you climbing the ranks. And as you climb the ranks, the incentives keep on coming, salary increases, traveling packages, with all the works that make an executive just sit on his, drooling chair and just be comfortable. How afraid were you of being comfortable, or did you ever think at any particular point that, you know what, I might actually settle into this if I'm not careful, and ditch the concept or the idea that you initially had? What risk of comfortability, what risk is carried in being comfortable? As someone first who, I'm asking this because usually if I have an idea that I want to pursue, I need to build the necessary capital to do it, right? I need also the experience. That might mean I will need to go and work for a certain company. And working for a certain company, obviously there's a salary, and the salary has a certain level of security. It has a certain level, not completely, but it has a certain level, because you know that you are covered at particular points. You know, you will be able to make you're going to be able to make your car payments. You're going to be able to make your bond payments, your house payments, the airtime and internet connection. All these things are guaranteed to be covered, because you know that someone is responsible for ensuring that you have payments and you have them on time, as opposed to when you are not sure if you're even going to be able to payroll for either yourself or for the two people or for the few people that work in your office, or in if I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make payroll for my company. You know, there is that anxiety. It's entrepreneurship is different when you, and so the degree of comfortability. How did you ever think I might actually be too comfortable to a point where I might end up ditching this journey for the time being, and probably decide to, just sit still and be comfortable and say, well, I'm going to work at Worth Migrate for the next 10 or 15 years. I'll see this after 20 years to come. Did that ever even appear, or even at the slightest, did you ever come into your mind?
I think I was fortunate because I had been an entrepreneur before, and I had realized during that period that this is what I really, really, really love, just pursuing ideas and just being a hustler, So even during my studies, I had a group of friends that also came from like a startup background. So we always kind of kept each other upbeat, as to say, okay, guys, if it so happens that we go into industry, we need not forget where we come from, and we need to go back and kind of serve our communities. Because also remember now, software development, there's really few Black people there. And so if we were these Black people who had these capabilities of developing software and also developing solutions that would help disadvantaged communities, that then meant we had a mandate upon ourselves to kind of help our communities to get out of some of the situations that they are currently in, and use technology to do that. So I was fortunate enough that as I went to Wealth Migrate, I went with one of my colleagues from school. Although we were in different teams, but we would often engage with each other and be like, hey, dude, am I still going back to the startup world and being a hustler? And I was so obsessed to getting back, especially when I
Right.
started doing research around 2 years.
No, continue, I'm listening.
So especially when I started doing research around this idea that I had back then when I was in school, as to whether did that company actually achieve something around this. And when I looked into their, like, I went to Google Pay, looked at their reviews that they had, I logged into their platform and kind of saw the users that they had, and just basically did an analysis on the company as to whether are they really addressing this market and solving this problem. And the answer was no, they were not, and we could do better. So that also was a
All right.
motivation for me to kind of get out.
Let me jot down a few details again. So when did you resign from Worth Migrate, leaving this job opportunity, or this employment? When did you leave Worth Migrate?
I left Wealth Migrate in February this year. Yeah, early Feb.
Wow. So Feb this year. This year,
Yes, this year.
as in this year, as in 2021 or 2020.
No, 2021.
Wow. I'm trying to make an emphasis, right? And I'm trying to suppress out the qualities that you have as an entrepreneur, because the coronavirus, the pandemic started last year. And immediately when it started, I think everyone would have wanted to at least have some security, people were holding on to their jobs and employment. And here you are. The pandemic started in 2020, but the economic downturns of the country started way back. So we have always had these economic challenges, right? But the blow or the nail to the coffin, which then became the pandemic, started in 2020. And you resign 1 year into, or more than a year into the pandemic, when we are not yet certain if we are going to have a vaccine, when this thing will end. Some businesses are closing. Here you are leaving your job to start a company. Come on. Like, hey, come on. If this is not, if these are not the qualities of an entrepreneur, of risk takers, I don't know what is. What is in your mind? Tell me, walk me through your mind, your thinking state when you are making a decision to resign from a company. Yes, it's 3 years, but a lot of things have been happening since you initially made the decision to say, I'm going to be in industry for 3 years, and then after that, I'm going to start my own thing. If you had decided this year that you were no longer going to resign, no one would have blamed you. And I think even yourself, you might have had some leniency towards yourself to say, hey, you know what, I wanted to leave industry, but look at how the world is, look at the pandemic and the economy. I'll be risking my life if I just leave my company to go into entrepreneurship and start my own business when other businesses are closing. Why am I opening up my own shop? What is your thinking state? What motivates you to make such, in some ways, a drastic decision during such times?
Well, it's even crazier because I was engaged in 2019, set to be married around June 2020. And when the pandemic hit, me and my fiance decided to elope during the 25th of March when the actual lockdown was starting. So I was officially married. Um, and yeah, so what then happened is that on the 1st of February, our daughter was born this year.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. So you see, even the odds of risk were just quite a lot. But I think there's this thing. I think you might also know it around people who are techies or who are in this industry. When we say we want to be transparent in our fees, we really mean that. If we say we care about our customers and we won't infringe upon your right, we won't look into your passwords in our database. In software development teams, you would actually find it that software developers are really fighting with CEOs saying, hey guys, you cannot do that. You see? So what I'm trying to say is that we're very adamant about, if I said something, I will do it, you know. So that's something also that kind of fueled me to say, I'd
All
said
right.
this 3, but yeah.
Let me just finish up your answer, and I just want to touch into these ones. You're engaged to be married. There's a child that is coming, and you still make the decision. Now, I know how our social life impacts how productive we become. Um, I know how important a family structure is when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, a support structure, having people who actually love us. I think we do too much to separate the importance of how a social structure, a loving, not just any social structure, but a loving social structure actually impacts us. We try to downplay it a lot as if it does not matter, as if simply because we cannot measure a financial return on investment or a financial incentive of sorts derived from it, then it does not matter. When in fact it does. You know, it's quite important having a loving social structure that on its own give us certain levels of inspiration and enlightenment in terms of the journeys that we decide to pursue. The question that I'm getting at, you have a partner. Does she agree in all of this? I know it's personal and it's private, so I don't want to get into too private things, but I just want to get the sense of what does she think? Here is her man, her partner is leaving a job to go into entrepreneurship. Um, Without putting much into it from my side, what is her response to this? You don't have to go into too personal details because I know that's extremely personal.
I think in getting a wife, one of the goals is that to get someone that you're going to share ideas and bounce ideas and kind of you know gather your heads to come up with the best solution. So of course, she asked me, what are you doing? There's a child on the way. And I had to kind of provide, to say, hey, dude, there's a backup plan for this, and also there's a backup of a backup plan to say, okay, should things not go well with Chama Money, um, I can always kind of go back and kind of find another job, right? And that won't take us very long. So also there's an opportunity that, okay, we might be able to finance Chama Money for a certain period of time. So there won't be a difference that I left Wealth Migrate. So I had to kind of provide those solutions to her to be able to kind of have her go with the idea. But also before even we kind of got married, she kind of understood, and I tried to kind of make her understand that
Right.
this is what I love. This is entrepreneurship is what I love, and yeah.
Wow. All right. Continue with the Chama story. Continue with the Chama story for me from where we were. So you officially, so it had been there, but you officially then moved into it with full force starting this year.
Yes. So at 12 Migrate, we were working remotely even before the pandemic hit. So
Ah,
that allowed me to kind of have a lot of time in terms of working on my own project, because um, we don't, in these companies, you really don't work a 9 to 5. You work until you have got something that you are done, basically. So let me say, if we work on Scrum, right, or these agile principles. So if I've done everything that I need to do for today, I can go and leave and go anywhere else I want, even if it's 12 or it's 11 in the morning. No one will care, as long as my
wow.
team can reach me, and I, I'm accountable for what I'm doing. So that was great for me. So basically, working at 12 Migrate, I would have a 9 to 5 schedule, and then after 5, I would work from 5 to 1 to 3 in early mornings, in and building Chama Money from 5 to 3 a.m. in the morning. And basically, what I was doing then, I was building our prototype, building this prototype, building it. And yeah, when I was finally at a place whereby I was comfortable to kind of release it publicly for people to kind of test it and see and give their opinions, I was
Right.
like, okay, I'm fine now. I started reaching out to possible people that I can work with, right? Because I know in building a company, you need a great team. So I went to some of my colleagues to say, hey guys, would you mind coming in? I've built this prototype here. Have a look. I will be willing to let you be the CTO of the company, and I'll be a CEO. And I think I reached about 3 people that I knew from my network, who were people that I felt we would align on certain values, in terms of these were people who had incredible skills. And I worked with these
Right.
people not even a month. Like they would just drop off. They would just drop off, and I was like, what is going on? Um, and I reached out to one day. I
Mm,
was in Cape Town in a mall with a friend, and we decided to go to a bookstore. And in this bookstore, as we were browsing some books there, I saw a book there written Stockvels, and how they can make your money work for you, right? And I was like, what? I just built this prototype around Stockvel, and there's a book around Stockvel. Because even doing my research, information around Stockvel is scarce. To find a book around this was crazy. So I bought the book, took it home, read the book, and I was like, wow, this person is so informed about Stockvels.
Right.
And yeah, as I was reading through the book, I was like, what? This person also comes from a neighboring town from where I grew up in Mount Fletcher. So basically, we come from the same town. And I was like,
Wait a minute.
this is.
Let's wait. What was the chance of the stars aligning in this way? I don't know if you I don't know if you're a person who believes in coincidences or but what are the chances? Everything completely coming together the way that it was. Here's a prototype, it's built, and you are with a friend at a mall. Suddenly there is a book, and the person is also someone that you can actually get in contact with because they are close enough to you. The book is, at least it's not someone who is 1,000 miles away. What are the chances of all these things coming together? I mean, just humor me for a second.
Yeah, dude, I'm a guy who was a Christian and believes in God, and I believe in coincidences like that. But also, like this one is very difficult to pinpoint to say why. But I would have to attribute it to God to say, hey, He was looking out for me, seeing how hard basically I was
Yeah,
hustling for this, because like it was really a challenge working from 5 to 3 a.m. and you have a fiance at that point in time, so and you have to wake up at
yeah.
9 in the morning to have a day job. So I always believe in
Mm,
this thing, like as cliche as it may sound, hard work creates luck. So although this
right,
in this situation it's hard to map the two, how would I say I worked hard and for this to result? Basically, it just doesn't match up. So hence, I would say I would have to attribute to another force.
right. In the superior forces. All right, cool. Let's continue the Chama story. You have seen the book. What happens? Do you contact the person? Do you link up with them? What happens after this?
Yes, I do. I do reach out to this person, but I first had to Google her, and she's hard to find. Right, she doesn't have a LinkedIn page. She's not on Facebook. And I'm like, yo, this person, what's up with her?
What's
And
the name?
luckily,
What's the name?
but
What's the
since
name?
but since we have met Pali Salingolo, so I'll put her on the chat as well. Pali Salingolo.
All right. All right. Yeah, you just drop a name in the chat. We might just want to reach out to say, hey, you know what? The stars were aligned. Thank you so much. All right, continue your story.
So yeah, luckily I was able to find a Twitter handle for her of her, and I was like, I'm not a big Twitter
Okay.
person, so let me see if this works out. I really had little belief that even that account was active. So I reached out to her. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
Palisa, I'm Sibabale here. I'm trying to build this company that will serve stock files, that will digitize stock files, that will make them safer, more transparent, and also easy. I read your book. I
Right.
love what you do. And the funny fact is that I realized that we come from the same
Mhm.
town. So I would really appreciate it if you would link up with me sometime. So, and I clicked send and had to wait. One day I received a notification like, hey, Sibabale, it's great that you are working on this idea. Here's my email.
Right.
Let's get a Zoom call, because now
Wow.
it's already the pandemic right now. We're part of the pandemic. I think it's still around March. It's still around March,
Right.
or March to April. So last year. So had an initial
Okay.
meeting with her. We kicked off. So basically, her background. She grew up where I literally grew up. Her mother was a Stockvel member. Similar to my aunt, she was lending out money, and the people who used to come to her house all the time to kind of borrow money from this Stockvel pool of money. And she went on to study accounting. Worked for the likes of Alexander Forbes. Um, Now is an investment banker, and has, like, over the past 6 years, has been working pro bono for Stockvels, trying to get Stockvels to invest and just educating Stockvels around financial matters. So, like, she was the perfect candidate for someone to work with after, some of the failures that I had with striking
Right.
partnership with other people. um she liked the idea. She was like, "Look, I like what you're doing. We can work with each other." And yeah, the relationship started from there on, and now she's currently our chief operations officer. And I've been
Wow.
building money with her ever since.
Wow, man, this is mind blowing because let me call them, let me use my own terms. I'm a creative. Let me use my own terms. These business love relationships, right? Um, well, sometimes to see someone who you think, based on what they've done and what they do, to see them that they could be a good addition to your work, to what you are doing, is one thing. To then get them to even buy into what you are doing, it's completely something else, right? You can see people and they will respond to you, but not as you would expect them to. They will just prefer to watch from a distance, as opposed to perhaps coming on board to help you with whatever you're working on. But for those who see these visions, for those who see the entrepreneurial visions in other people, for those who understand the mission at hand and decide to be part of it, we really have to give a shout out to those people. We really have to. They're different kind of a breed, because remember, in its in each entrepreneurial journey, there are two people that are critical. There are a lot, but these two are critical. One, who finds, who forms, who establishes and curates the vision. The other one, who's also as highly critical, is the person that is going to assist you with the necessary tools, those necessary tricks and knowledge, the know-hows of how to actually complete the whole puzzle. The vision on its own is not enough. It needs to be supplemented by other tools. To find people who agree to work with you, people who already have done, who are well established, to have them listen to the story and buy into the story and say, you know what, I want to help you do that. These are different kind of people, and we really must applaud them for that. All right, cool. So you have established the relationship with Ubalis. You guys are now working together. How long has Chama Money been operational fully? I mean, with you fully in it, not working for it part time or working on a prototype. So now I take it that it's out of the prototype phase, right?
So we're still on the prototype phase, currently building an MVP. So I'm busy building an MVP as we speak, and working with various strategic partners to bring that to life. So
Okay.
after having engaged with Upalesa, I started engaging incubators, basically, around South Africa and around the continent and even globally, to kind of enable me to quit Wealth Migrate and join that incubator, because I know that incubators, they would often give you a stipend, and they would, like, give us basically a runway, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year, you see. So during that period, I was busy with her applying for these incubators. And luckily enough, one of the applications was successful, and which was Alpha Code. So from there, Alpha Code gave us the ability to have a bit of runway for us, and also to allow me to work full time while Palisa is still working part time. And yeah, as part of that decision, I had to leave Cape Town, move to Eastern Cape to live with my mother alongside my wife, so that we can reduce expenses and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, basically as we speak, I'm in the Eastern Cape. Um, and we are part of this Alpha Code program, which is culminating, I think, around the 16th of May. Basically, where we'll see whether we advance to the next stage and get more funding to continue our roadmap. But also at this stage, we are currently actively raising our pre-seed round. So basically, busy engaging with these venture capitalists left and right.
All right. So, okay, cool. So you're saying at the moment you are also part of Alpha Code, the incubator. And Alpha Code, I think it should be affiliated with, I think one of these investment companies. I think I'm forgetting the name, but I am aware of Alpha Code. So currently you are part of Alpha Code.
Yes, we're actively part of that program, and they are backed by Rand Merchant Bank, which is a parent
Yes.
company of FNB.
All right. Okay, that was the company that I was looking for. I think there's Rand Investments again somewhere there. Okay, cool. So I saw one of your posts. I saw one of your posts on LinkedIn where you were saying you were part of. I think you were pitching. Was it a pitch? What were you doing with? Is it Africa Arena? Were you pitching? What was the process?
Yes, with Africa Arena, they reached out to me to say, "Hey, dude, we like what you're doing with Chama Money, and we would like to give you a platform whereby you can pitch to us, and then if we like your idea, and then we can allow you to pitch to investors." So Africa Arena, as you know, is one of the biggest conferences around startups, around investing in Africa. So they called us to kind of go pitch. I think there were around 8 companies that were chosen from the SADC region, not just South Africa. And we had to pitch in order to qualify to go to Joburg. I think it's next month, and there in Joburg, we'll then pitch, I think, in front of investors. But also then, if we also pitch well there, we would then go to Cape Town, where the main event, which brings people from all over the world and Africa to kind of have this huge seminar around tech and startups, and also pitch there as well, and hopefully secure funding as well.
So okay. So at the moment, what what happened? You've already pitched for Africa Arena. Have you been successful to go and pitch in Joburg, or is the vetting process of sorts? Have you already passed that? What's the info?
We're currently in the vetting process. The results, I think, will be out sometime this week, later this week. So yeah, we
Right.
haven't heard the results from there yet.
All right. No, we just keep on checking your social media platforms to see how that's going. So you are currently raising at the moment.
Yes, we are. We are actively raising our pre-seed round. Yes.
Okay. And so far, I'm just trying to get because fundings and whatnot. These are some of the areas that I'm really interested in. So far, how many? Maybe not necessarily in numerical values, but um, I think in addition to how many VCs and funders you've spoken to, I wanted to check the response. How has the response been? And also, most importantly, in relation to the kind of business model that you have at hand, what do you think possibly influences a funder's decision when it comes to Chama Money? What are some of the key details they look for when it comes to Chama Money? Or what do you think are the key details that funders are supposed to be looking at, or the ones that you consider to be crucial when funders look at Chama Money?
I think firstly, it's always important to look into the idea and the plausibility of that idea, whether it's something that can be implementable look at the market that this company is trying to serve, but also look at the team that is trying to execute this, as to whether they can bring this idea, because everything falls onto the idea, right? So the idea then leads to the market. Is this idea serving an actual market, an addressable market? And can the team actually execute on this idea? And basically also what are some of the financial metrics that this company has. So basically, how are they going to make their money? When are they likely going to break even? Because I'm an investor, I'm not just giving away my money here. So those are some of the things that I feel are fundamental when looking into a startup.
All right, let me ask you another one. How have you been successful in terms of getting in contact with VCs and other funders? Not the success rate in terms of getting a yes, because you're still actively raising, which means you haven't gotten those responses, but the success rate just in terms of getting in contact with them, getting feedback, and actually communicating with them. Because I know probably this might be one of those things that probably make up your day-to-day schedule, just meetings and this and this and this.
Yes, I would say the response has been, good and not so good, in the sense that it's good that we have engaged some VCs, and they want us to be part of their portfolios. However, those VCs are still gathering, they are still putting up certain funds to kind of dish out to startups. And so we already in the books, we already have agreements with those VCs to say, okay, once they have that fund ready, then we'll be part of their portfolio. And also good in the sense that, we are part of Alpha Code, and Alpha Code has reach and has a network, and we've seen that actually how they are assisting us in terms of lobbying for funding. Not so good in the sense that it's a job that you don't really want. You really don't want to be raising funding as an entrepreneur. You want to raise enough funding so that you can sustain yourself for a very long period of time. So that, because what currently is happening, like I said, we are busy building our MVP. So I was like around 60% done in terms of writing the whole code, but now I really had to drop that and not even write a single bit of code for weeks now, because I have to solely focus on this, because this is also another important aspect that will either determine that I go back into industry, or because that was also part of a backup plan that I pitched to my wife to say, hey, darling, if this doesn't work out, I'll go find another job. So basically now we are at that point.
The family needs to eat.
Yeah, certainly, family is priority. And and now I had to kind of focus very strongly to kind of, I've been reaching, I think I've reached out to more than maybe close to 20 VCs in just a couple of weeks, not even a month period. And some have been responding, but some have not been responding. The, the not so good part of it is that in the VC world, it is good to get a referral rather than for you to apply, via a cold call or via a cold email, because then the reception of a referral is much more warmer than that of a startup which is just reaching out. And we haven't built that network as of yet to kind of say, okay, we know people that if I reach out to so and so, then they will be able to really meet to the right ventures. But yeah, we have optimism that we will raise, because what we're building is we're building something that we believe in it, that it's something that is unique, that is something that has a potential to have a good upside.
Right. No, man. This is quite some stuff. All right, cool. I wanna. Well, I know I've kept you here quite long enough, and I don't want to keep you any longer. But just a few more questions with brief answers. Who do you
Yeah,
want
sure.
to serve? Who do you want to serve, and how are you getting
Okay. We want to serve the underserved, right? We want to reach out to disadvantaged communities. These are townships. These are people in rural areas, right? And that's our market. So we've segmented this market into three different customers, right? So we have someone which we call a CASI graduate, right? So a CASI graduate is somebody like myself or yourself, who grew up maybe in a township or a rural area, basically from a disadvantaged background. And now we find ourselves in the class, right? But because we never grew up around finances and stuff like that, we really don't know how to invest. Or even if we do invest, we don't invest consistently, right? So that's also somebody that we are also targeting. But also with this customer that we call a Kasi hustler. So these people have metric at best, right? They work as a security guard, they work as a retailer, or a cleaner. So basically, these people working for minimum wage, working as best as they can to provide for their families. But they really don't like where they are and they would like to change their life around. And if we can allow them to invest at affordable rates, we can be able to actually enable them to realize their dreams, whether it's to go back to school, whether it's to buy their mama a house or something like that. So the third segment and the last one, we call them timer and Oleji. So this is a segment of people who are either pensioners, housewives. Basically, these are people who are unemployed. They depend on black tax and also social grant. So that's our market to kind of break it down to you.
Okay, interesting. I like the segments. This is quite detailed information. I like it so much. And I think anyone who listens to it has to be able to tell the amount of detail that has been put into this thing. Tell me, I think, my conversation with financial services business. All right, first of all, let me ask this. Is this an investment vehicle or a savings business?
It's an investment business in the sense that we believe that this market that we're trying to serve is already investing is already saving, I mean, to a certain degree, but they really haven't tapped to investing. So they must be investing either through a Stockvel or through like your typical savings account at one of the big five banks. So, however, they are not. There's not much value, right? If you're getting 3% or even 2% on your investments, that's little to nothing. So, we're trying to bring these communities to invest to see the potential of putting your money down long term and actually seeing the rewards. Maybe also going into property, as well as maybe getting into bonds long term. When we're well established, we would like to also maybe bring in cryptocurrencies to allow these people to invest in crypto in an easy
Interesting.
and secure way.
Interesting, interesting. All right. I was asking that question because in your market segmentation breakdown, I wanted to find out, obviously, if say I fall out of those brackets and
Mhm.
maybe personally I would fall into the first one, maybe the Gussie graduate, the one who has, grew up in a township and later on moved on. But say suppose I have somewhat some savings knowledge, right? And I'm no longer, suppose maybe I'm in the middle class or upper middle class, right? I'm in the upper middle class, possibly at the moment maybe well off, right? I wanted to find out, obviously, if it's an investment vehicle, of course, people are already saving money in different ways, but investments, lucrative investments are so few. I wanted to gauge out if, as someone in the upper middle class, I'll still be able to come and say to you and say, okay, cool, here I have the money. I don't want to do nothing, no stock for business and save and run money like that. I just want to invest. I want to give you my money, do whatever that you do with it, and then, but at the agreed time, at the agreed rates, I get my money back, right? As someone who's just coming from the outside without coming either as part of a Stockvel or something like that is the part that I wanted to get at.
Yes, that's something that we did. We looked at very in depthly while we're doing our customer research, and we found that for us to launch and get our MVP there, we need to focus, right? And the other features will add as we kind of scale long term. So right now, we want to just focus on this market and just learn as best as we can and not spread ourselves too thin. So the focus really right now is to actually allow for people to invest as groups, and not necessarily as individual, although we have like the technical capabilities of doing that. But this is an experiment. Like this launch is an experiment to see if this is what we think our customers are doing, are really wanting. So then as we scale, we would maybe allow for those high net worth people. But at this moment, we really feel like the high net worth people have been catered for. So they are really
All right.
broad services for them.
Now, it does make that quite makes a lot of sense. All right. Thank you for that information. All right. So again, I think your journey at the moment, how necessary do you think telling your story, how important is it, and have you received a platform to fully tell your story? Have you received, platforms, proper platforms where people get to hear your story as I'm hearing it on a larger scale? Do you think startups actually have those platforms where they tell their stories? Because remember, obviously, as an investor, when someone comes to me, I'm not going to listen to. Obviously, when you come to me, when you're going to an investor, you're simply going to present a pitch deck or a few minutes thing where you're just going to do your value proposition, your margins breakdown and the likes. But obviously, if I hear your story from at a broader perspective, from a broader view, and I hear the breakdowns of not just the finances, the pitch decks, but I hear the complete thing. Um, my view of your startup changes. Have you had such platforms where you get to tell your story proficiently?
I would have to say, oh, this one is a difficult one, right? I would have to say yes, in the sense that we are part of this Alpha Code program, and I believe it's a world class program, and it's the best in South Africa, and it actually allows us to tell our story. And they have the reach to kind of broadcast it very widely, as they have done. We've had a few press releases by virtue of being part of their platform. But also, I think the social media nowadays, so you can basically, as a startup, to get your vision out there, get your mission out there, and kind of do that consistently. So I would say yes, in that sense, there is a platform. However, I would say maybe also due to we're part of the pandemic, there's really not much socializing going on around these events that will normally take places where you see people networking, you're going to startup events. I believe they've quite dwindled down. So in that regard, there's really not much of a way to get your word out there, because you cannot kind of network with fellow entrepreneurs and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. All right. Now, maybe this might be the last, a blatant one, obviously. I still have a few more tons of questions, but looking at the time and the schedule today, is still a bit, it's a Monday. Let me ask a blatant one, because I'm in the creative space, and I'm not selling. Dear God, I'm not selling. Just trying to find out some basics. Who does your marketing? Do you have someone designated to do your marketing? Because I remember you mentioned to me that you are the one who do the code. In fact, when we're engaging, now you have had to drop that because you had to focus on the raising part of it. Now it had that human capital question in me coming up, but I didn't want to go there because obviously there are some, as a startup, obviously we obviously cannot expect you to have a bunch of people, a bunch of teams, because finances as well, people to pay expenses and the likes. But there are some areas where you can designate individuals to handle some stuff while you focus on the other. I mention this because I'm a firm believer that operations ultimately they come together, right? They have to culminate at some point, right? If if a certain component, for me, I think a business, not a business model, but a business is a practical thing, just as a body. If a certain component of the body is not functioning well, it obviously is going to affect the other parts. If my hand is not well, I can still walk using my legs, but there are some functions that are supposed to be performed by my hands. I cannot be able to do them. So, do you have someone who is designated to all preaching the Chama Money message, perhaps who, in your absence, if you were not available today, you could have simply said, hey, attend that thing, just speak to the guy and hear what he's looking for, or attend that press release and the likes and the likes. Do you have someone designated for that? Do you think there is, despite your finances, whether you can be able to pay for such a person or not, do you think there's a necessity for that where you are now as Chama Money?
Um, yeah, so look, I come from a marketing background, right, where I had this company that was doing marketing for startups. And I started that company because I had this fundamental belief that marketing is a key strategic part of a business. If that business
Right,
wants to differentiate itself, achieve
right,
success. So I really strongly believe marketing is a crucial part of any entity that wants to really live long term. So at the moment, I'm currently doing all our marketing endeavors. And I tried, because um, although I have I'm starting to build a team around myself, I'm still doing most of the thing because some of my colleagues have to be full time in their jobs and part time at Chama
right,
Money. So we're still starting that kind of that level of working with each other. But to answer you in simple words, I'm currently doing marketing, and also marketing is very, very, very big component of how we
right.
plan to grow as Chama Money. So yeah.
Right. No, thank you for that, man. I think just as a free offer, if you ever find someone, understanding the schedules involved in, and also because personally, now another question comes up to me. Because personally, I'm a firm believer in collaborative efforts, right? So if you ever find someone, but mainly you might not have the time to allow them to go through the details, because obviously you're being a marketing professional, and you necessarily might not have the time to take someone through all the stages involved into how to get this brand story out. If you ever get a person and you ever feel like they need some sort of training, send them my way, send them to us. I think just for some free training, for some free conversation. Marketing is such a creative process. In fact, there is creativity is all based on how well you are able to band to throw around ideas and play around with concepts up until you finally curate something that's perfect for the occasion to describe the product or an event or a situation, right? So if you ever find someone and you feel like they need to go through a bit of training, not intensive things, but just a little bit. We do have intensive training, marketing trainings for people and companies, but for this is completely free. If you feel like you ever need that, just you have my email now. You can just send me an email, and then we just do these sessions with them, because I believe in communicating creativity with others. I also become creative myself, and I'm enlightened in a certain sense. Marketing is not a stifled profession where qualifications define everything in that field. It's not only defined by that. You have to go through the ever-changing world of customer perception, customer feedback, and customer needs, the changing needs and wants. All right. So if you ever find someone, feel free to send them my way.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that offer. That's really kind of you. Yeah, certainly will reach out to you. Thank you.
All right. My last question. Financial services companies, sometimes in what they offer, the biggest struggle in relation to financial service businesses is they fail to educate the customer. Not that the customer, if you go to a customer and the customer says no, usually in financial services, it's not because they don't need what you are selling, but it's because they are not adequately educated on it. How important is financial education? How important of a component does it exist in your company as a component where you say we are going to deal with financial education at this scale, at this rate, and under such times? Do you have it as a component in your company, and how important do you think it is as a financial service business?
Um, this is a very good question and also an important one, especially with the market that we are trying to serve. Um,
Right,
Funny fact is that in my initial engagement with Palisa, she was like, "Look, Sibabale, if I'm going to join and be part of this Chama Money journey, we have to really focus on education. And this is my only one condition for me to join Chama Money is that financial education would have to
right,
be at the core, if not at the fore of what we are doing here. So our strategy towards kind of educating our customers around this was built around an agent model, right? So basically, what we would have is that we would hire people around um, communities. So basically, say I live in Mount Fletcher right now. We would have an agent who lives in Mount Fletcher who is a Chama Money agent. And basically, maybe say every month we have webinars or seminars whereby these agents would go out into their communities. They would collect all the young individuals. They would collect omama, no tata, omkulu, nabokoko, all the old people, all even the younger generations, and they would put them in
right,
either in community hall or at a church, and would have the likes of Upalisa or various other partners that we are working with, maybe say a financial planner from Alan Gray or someone like that, who would be able to communicate to these people in their native tongue first of all, and be able to kind of someone who has also a background around. So those are the people that we are looking to kind of have. So in these seminars, we'll basically maybe run what you call these things are not used anymore. What do you call the projectors, right? So in a community hall, we have a projector. We stream basically a financial individual educating our people on the principles of investing. Why is it important to invest in X and not Y? And basically planning your investments as to, okay, now if the economy is like this, don't invest in a certain asset, invest in a certain asset, and all those kind of
right,
fundamentals and principles we really need, because that's what we're doing at Chama Money. We're trying to change the way that people in these communities have the relationship they have with finances. You see, if we can be able to impart such knowledge to them, they will be able to impart it to their children, and environments which their children are growing up will be different from the ones that we grew up where finances were not talked about. Our parents really didn't even have reserves, so, and they didn't have funds set out for us when we start going into university, and we have to heavily depend on NFSAS, which is irregular for us. So financial education, like, is really a core component in terms of what we're doing.
all right. Wow. This is quite interesting stuff. Listen, man, I think this is quite interesting. So possibly you and I will still have quite a dozen engagements to do, but as time goes, obviously considering all your schedule and all these things that you have to do, But in my mind, I was just envisioning a time when, and I hope it is coming soon, a time where I would be listening to my radio in the car going home, in a taxi going home, or wherever the case might be. And there on the radio, there is just a lady or a man speaking in whatever language, but a vernacular language, speaking to the people and just telling the Chama Money story. You know, while you're walking, just nje, suddenly you hear Xhosa voice ethetha ngezinto ze-Stockvel, and they're like, how really, you know? And then that interest is then in you because there is that word Stockvel, and you know, because and then type of people around you as well. So I cannot wait for that time where the story needs to be told. And I like the fact that you guys are focusing on the education component because it is going to be pivotal. And financial education is a lot of work. Number one, because besides the kind of financial services that you provide, financial education as a prime subject itself has not been fully taught. We do not have it properly. So then having to go into a certain sector or industry in financial education is a complete whole different ball game on its own. I'm wishing you all the best, man. Thank you so much. Whoa, this has been one of the longest conversation. What I'm going to do is I recorded the conversation. I'm going to save it, download it, I'll send it to my team. They'll do whatever they want to do with it. If they prefer to edit it or not, it's up to them. But if you need the conversation, it's going to be available. If we ever post some of these stuff at any of 01 Creations platforms, they'll definitely take you, they'll take your company. If you need the content, it's freely available. Wherever you see it, reshare, do whatever that you want. But this has been quite informative, man. Thank you so much. And I'm rooting for you. We'll see. You know, we never know how these things work out. There's a reason why I was asking key questions in terms of fundings and venture capitalists and this and that. We'll see how it pans out, and we'll just keep on engaging to see how the journey is going and how we can possibly get some people to also hear this the Chama story. And when they hear this, I'm sure they'll take some key points from it. So listen, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I know your schedule is hectic, but thank you so much for making time for me. And hopefully we do this again soon. Some radio interview, some TV interview, somewhere, Jay, where we can see and hear you. All right.
Yeah, sure, Samuel. Thank you for the opportunity and just reaching out. And I just want to send my sincere apologies to you because I really didn't realize that this conversation was being recorded. Like I really completely didn't. So if I had known that this would be the official interview session that I was having with you, I would have certainly prepared much better to be like well equipped in terms of connectivity
Uh,
and all of that. I did suspect
um,
that okay, maybe it could be the meeting, but as the conversation was going, I was like, oh, but I really didn't realize that there was a recording. But I really loved the conversation and how it went, and yeah, certainly I also look forward to maybe having these sessions again and having more encounters with each other.
right. No, definitely, man. Hey, I'm wishing you all the best. I'm rooting for you. And I'll keep on checking because personally, I was some of these questions I was asking because I'm like, yeah, you know what? I would want to invest my money to this because, you know, I think the whole multiple streams of income thing, for me, it has been a thing from the very beginning. So we are always looking for platforms where we can put our money, leave it there, let it grow, let it work for itself, that type of a thing, and just look for opportunities. So we are definitely going to keep on waiting. We'll wait for the MVP. We'll wait for the launch. Wait for the whole damn thing. And when it happens, we're definitely waiting for it. I can assure you, if people hear this as I had it, if the right people hear this as I had it, there's no doubt there are people who are really, really waiting for this thing as much as I am. Thank you so much, man. I'm wishing you all the best. All the best to your family, all the best to the little one, all the best to the company, to Chama Money, and your ventures up ahead. We'll definitely be in touch, man. Please let not this be the last time. All right.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I really enjoyed it as well. Yeah, it certainly will not be the last one.
All right. All right. Thank you, man. Have yourself the lovely rest of your Monday, and all the best for the rest of the week. All right.
Thank you, Chief. Same to you.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.